This is Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in the Inland Empire today, and we are joined by Jerry Gutierrez. He is the Assistant Sheriff for Corrections for Riverside County. And boy, the last 5 years really have been a bit tumultuous when you look at corrections and the different signals the state is sending in terms of corrections. Talk to us about AB 109 and how that impacted corrections for county jails.
Well, you're absolutely correct. The last 4 or 5 years for local corrections pretty much has been turned upside down and right size up again.
Right,
but,
right.
With the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, with our rehabilitative efforts, we've always had a pretty robust programs in place.
Right.
Vocational programs, educational, substance abuse. We've had that going for quite some time.
But you have had to ramp those up for the simple reason that through AB 109, as we know, the state has been sending lower level offenders, the triple nons, to county facilities. And the intent behind that was if they're closer to home, because presumably they would have a greater chance of re-entry through rehabilitation. And you were given funding for that.
Yes, and absolutely. And you're absolutely correct. We have had to really enhance a lot of our programs, and we're pretty excited about some of the gains that we have made in these last few years.
And do you feel as if through the proliferation of these programs that recidivism is down? Because California for decades has had a very bad rap as it relates to recidivism. 70% reoffending, you know, it's that circular wheel of justice where people are just coming in and out of jail.
Yes, and probably one of the most confusing things when you talk recidivism is many governmental agencies have different ways of measuring recidivism.
Okay, so maybe we just got the bad end of the stick, or pulled the wrong straw with our statistics.
Yeah, well, and that's what throws it off. And the good thing about it, though, is the state of California has finally adopted a definition, a standard statewide definition last year, which we are following and we are studying at this point. But some of the programs that we've really had to
let's
add,
talk about
yes,
that,
absolutely. The key thing that we have done within the Sheriff's Department, like other counties as well, is we are now employing evidence-based programs. And what I mean by that is every individual is evaluated solely on what their individual needs are, and the programs are tailored toward them.
Because presumably these are folks, as we said, lower level offenders. They're getting out. I mean, it is undeniable. The whole throw away the key, lock them up, their sentences don't allow for that. So if they are going to get out, I guess the pedagogy is, let's get them trained. Let's get them a job after they get out. Let's prepare them with a trade or a talent so they can work.
Well, the key thing too, and what really drops off sometimes is a handoff. What I mean by that is from the time a person leaves incarceration out into the street. So what realignment has brought with it is great partnerships with our local agencies like probation, Riverside Office of Education, the Department of Mental Health.
Tell us, I want to hear about all your programs.
We got a lot of great things. Prior to realignment, a lot of our rehabilitative efforts were short-term, like the incarceration used to be. Sentenced to a year or less, county jail, a year or more prison.
Right.
Well, you know, with realignment, it changed all
3
that.
years, at least.
Well, that's at a minimum.
At a minimum, that's another conversation.
That's another conversation. But we primarily focused it years ago. We focused it at one facility, at our Larry D. Smith Correctional Facility. With realignment, what we have done is we have expanded these programs to all of our jails, our main ones.
5?
Yeah, all 5.
Could you
at Presley, at Robert Presley and at Southwest, we actually converted existing day rooms into program day rooms where these individuals at these 2 main facilities, along with Smith, are getting rehabilitative efforts that employs counseling, partnered with probation, linking them to outside resources upon release.
Could you tell us about the programs? Literally, if I walked in, what would I see?
Well, what would happen? Let's say you walked in.
Hopefully not as a prisoner.
Hopefully not as a prisoner. If you walked in and you were sentenced to, let's say, 120 days or more, and the reason I put that out is because statistically showing you wouldn't want to focus your efforts on individuals for a lesser time frame. There needs to be a baseline. You would get an individual assessment done, a COMPASS, which is an industry standard program that evaluates the individual's true needs, that looks at maybe substance abuse,
mental health,
all these different things. And then once that comes into play, and then with all the partners put together, we develop a program for that person. It could be as short as 120 days, or it can be as long as 9 months.
But are the programs, obviously, look, substance abuse, mental health, critical, but is part of the evaluation saying, this person seems to have a special acumen in robotics or electronics? Do you then steer them into a program that allows them to improve those skills?
Well, on top of those types of programs, we also have quite a few vocational programs.
Please.
Because you have to have those in place. When you look at evidence-based programs, there has to be another aspect in there, because you can't constantly be doing the counseling and all that all day long. So we have construction technologies where inmates learn through instructors how to construct buildings or floor or walkways and such. We have a print shop, if you will, that if you, at one of our facilities, that if you walked into it, the inmates are learning all the different types of programs, it would resemble that of a Kinko's.
Which is fantastic.
Exactly. And on top of that, we also have other programs that go along with that. Such as, do we have a janitorial program?
Great.
We have the print shop, the landscape program.
Landscape, good.
Yeah, so those are all great programs we have.
But let's talk about the handoff.
Yes.
Because that is the challenge.
That is.
You give these folks great skills. They've learned a trade, and then they get out, and there's no job.
What's really nice about that is, on top of that, one of my partners, which I forgot to mention, is the Economic Development Agency, which we have a partner in there that looks and does reentry services for these individuals who participate in these programs. We've always offered reentry services for many years, but we're dealing with a short-term type population.
Let me ask you about Prop 47, how that plays in. Because Prop 47, as you know, passed in November 2014, right? Yeah, just passed.
Yeah, November.
That reclassifies certain offenses from felonies to misdemeanors, and it's retroactive. Now, we can go on a whole conversation about whether Prop 47 is positive or negative, but it does take away felony convictions.
Yes, it does.
And so making employment easier,
well,
presumably?
Presumably, but I'm glad you brought that topic up, because there's a misunderstanding with the community in relation to Prop 47 within Riverside County. Riverside County did see a slight drop in bookings, but any drop in bookings where you would assume that, okay, well, there would be less people incarcerated.
No.
That wasn't the case in this county. Most counties in California saw a temporary drop in bookings slightly, and a drop in their inmate population, where Riverside County, unfortunately, because we're so woefully undersized, our jail system, for a population of 2.3 million residents, that any short-term gain that we had gotten from a reduction in bookings were quickly absorbed by the realignment population of longer sentences.
So what can you do? I mean, maybe that's a blessing, because if they're serving their sentence, or at least full amount of their sentence, they're in there to complete a program?
Yes, and here's the thing. Prior to Prop 47, because you know the Riverside County operates under a federal court order, and unfortunately every inmate has to have
the state of California.
Yes.
Right.
So what had happened prior to Prop 47? We're always been at maximum capacity since AB 109, and we still remain that to this day. But we now have inmates who want to participate in programs. Prior to that short-term gain that we're experiencing right now, that's unfortunately being absorbed by realigned inmates, it was difficult to get an inmate to want to do a program. There was no hammer to really push them or drive them to want to get that rehabilitative effort. So now what we have seen, because our bookings have dropped a little bit, our federal releases have dropped a little bit, all of a sudden I have a lot of inmates who want to do the program.
His name is Jerry Gutierrez with the Sheriff's Office in Riverside County. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's Charter Local Edition.